On the question of Elon Musk.
The spectre of the richest man in the world trying to buy a British political party should give us all pause for thought.
The attacks by Elon Musk on the Minister for Safeguarding crossed the line for me in the last few days.
He's not a politician. He lives over 5,000 miles away, but the world's richest man seems to be driving the political agenda right here in Westminster. Elon Musk has created headline after headline in the UK in the past couple of weeks. He's called for the Prime Minister to be jailed, the Reform Party to pick a new leader, for the release of a prisoner and the launch of a public inquiry. His reach isn't limited to the UK either. European leaders have accused him of election interference. Our correspondent, Alex Barker, has been looking at the Musk effect.
His name is Elon Musk. He saved free speech. He created so many different great things. Where is he? Come on up here, Elon.
His influence in American politics is well known. After publicly endorsing Donald Trump during his campaign, when Trump begins his second term as president, Elon Musk will become a senior member of his administration, co-leading a new Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. And now he's using his social media platform X to hurl political grenades over the Atlantic. He called Prime Minister Keir Starmer complicit in the rape of Britain when he was head of Crown prosecution for 6 years. He's referring to grooming gangs who exploited and raped hundreds of girls in Rotherham in a scandal which was exposed in 2013. Keir Starmer was Director of Public Prosecutions at the time. In a speech that was supposed to be about the NHS, the Prime Minister was forced to address the comments. He said he did tackle the issue head-on and called out the spread of misinformation online.
Those that are spreading lies and misinformation as far and as wide as possible. They're not interested in victims. They're interested in themselves.
Musk hasn't just gone after the PM, though, or even just the Labour Party. After rumours he could make a large donation to Reform, he posted this. The Reform Party needs a new leader. Farage doesn't have what it takes. It appears the two have fallen out over the case of far-right activist Tommy Robinson, who was jailed for contempt of court in October. Musk has called for him to be released. It's not just Britain experiencing the Musk effect. French President Emmanuel Macron says he's directly intervened in elections. The German government has accused him of trying to influence the upcoming election there with his open support for the extreme right Alternative for Germany, or AfD party. In one post, he says only the AfD can save Germany.
When Elon Musk ausgestattet nicht nur mit
When Elon Musk, equipped not only with billions and billions, but also with unbridled communication power, calls for the AfD to be elected in Germany, it is not out of ignorance of the AfD, it is logical and systematic. Musk strengthens those who weaken Europe.
The billionaire has even hosted an interview with the party leader on X, something the European Commission has already said it will investigate for possible breaches of EU rules. He was also at a meeting between Trump and Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, another leading far-right figure, and he supports Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, the country's most right-wing leader since the Second World War. Has one man ever wielded this much power on social media? Is it a problem? And if so, how on earth might it be tackled?
Back in the studio, let's put those questions to my guests. I'm joined by Deputy Editor of The Spectator, Freddy Gray, author and journalist Rebecca Reid, and former Head of Comms for the Reform Party, Gawain Towler. Welcome to Westminster Watch, all of you. So let me start with you, Rebecca. Is Elon Musk the most powerful man we have known to wield such influence, and is that a problem?
He does wield a worrying amount of power purely because of how much money he has. I think sometimes we conflate power from owning Twitter/X and being a billionaire. I don't think that X is the behemoth that some people believe it to be, but I do think his funds are scary. I do think he has too much power. My question would be, what on earth can you do about that and I'm really not sure what the answer to that is.
And I would say Bill Gates also has a great deal of power.
But I'm trying to get a sense of the man that Elon Musk is. Now, Freddie, you move in the circles of Mar-a-Lago, very well connected in the US. Tell me, give us a sense of the man Elon Musk is, and perhaps a thought or two, why he's inserting himself into British politics.
Well, I think Elon Musk, the man, has a complicated past, a difficult relationship with his father, obviously has an unbelievable drive to succeed, and also has a sort of very online, very tech bro sense of humour. And that's what you're seeing at the moment with his ownership of X, is he's trying to have as much fun with it as he possibly can. And I do think we need to be a little bit careful about taking him too seriously. Because as soon as you start taking him seriously, it only sort of increases the power of his jokes, if you like.
That's interesting about taking him seriously, because let's talk about the reaction of British politicians to his interventions. Let's start, if I may, with the attack on the Prime Minister, where he basically said he should go to jail for essentially, as Elon Musk says, failing to tackle grooming gangs, which we heard about in our intro. This was whilst he was Director of Public Prosecutions over 10 years ago. How extraordinary is it, Freddie, that Elon Musk, a businessman in America, actually got the attention of the Prime Minister, who had to come out and publicly defend himself on this issue?
Well, it is extraordinary, but I think that speaks something towards the ridiculousness of the British media and the British political establishment, that we allow this person to dominate our national conversation and then spend weeks saying, why are we allowing this person to dominate our national conversation? We have allowed Musk to, British politicians have allowed Musk to troll them, essentially, to use the online term, to bait them into a reaction that they have duly given. Now, to some people, and I'd like to hear Gawain's take on this, it's actually quite useful. I'd say to Keir Starmer it's been quite useful, because this week the economy's in terrible trouble again. The NHS reforms that Keir Starmer was very excited about announcing were in fact a bit of a disaster. Everything's going very badly for Labour on various fronts. Instead, the whole conversation all week has been about whether Elon Musk and the far right are taking over Britain, and Keir Starmer gets to grandstand about that and say, I'll never allow this sort of thing to happen.
Well, Gavin, you were a communications chief for Reform. Is this a good thing for Labour?
I don't know whether it's a good thing for Labour, and the entertainment of I love Nigel, no I don't love Nigel, actually I quite like Nigel, which is what Musk's done this week over Farage. Has been entertaining to watch. But I think you're right on this. There's a lot of tongue-in-cheek when he's suggesting that America should basically rescue us from our tyranny. Yes, no, this is not meant to be taken seriously. He is obviously.
But you're not in any way perturbed
jokes.
by it's those sort of men who pay to go and shoot lions on holiday because they're rich and they need to feel something. This feels like the extreme version of that. He's so wealthy and there's nothing he can't have.
Probably more extreme than having a fun bit of tweeting.
I think they
no
hold the gun
animals
for you.
died in the production of Elon Musk's tweets.
And also,
but hang on. Let me pick up Freddie on that point. And Jess Phillips, I want to talk about Rebecca, because actually she's had threats against her because of meaningful threats, which she admits has changed the way she's behaving. Because, and let's give it the context here, because Musk basically said that she should go to jail for her failure to implement inquiry into grooming gangs.
I think
that's quite serious.
A lot of women will really respond to the feeling of being told they're not having a sense of humour, that it's all just silliness, that's just trolling, it's just playing.
It's not
and I think particularly if you've grown up online and you know what it is to have your life online from childhood, which is what a lot of young women are experiencing, this idea that men are allowed, and it is generally men who do this, allowed to sit behind screens and just say stuff and there be absolutely no fallout for it is really abhorrent. And my issue with this is that I don't know what Jess Phillips could do. If she did want to take legal action against Elon Musk, in what world is she going to win, realistically?
And in what world should she be allowed to win? I mean, these are rude things and ghastly things and vile things.
A rape genocide apologist is not the kind of thing you should be able to say about somebody with no recourse.
But yet, if he's a foreigner abroad and he can do...
But you shouldn't be able to. You can say ugly, you can say stupid, you can say I don't like her, but that is an actual allegation against her.
Well, hang on, just before we do it, let's see, if I may, we've got our opinions that are being formed here in the studio. I want us to take a look, if I may, at what some of the British public think about Elon Musk.
I find it quite disturbing, particularly because of some of the other comments he's been making about the world. So bringing that kind of influence on our political system is really worrying.
I think he's got over-influence because of his money.
His opinion really shouldn't matter.
Why?
Well, he's a billionaire, well done, he's made a lot of money, but British politics is British politics.
Well, he doesn't live in Britain, for starters, and I think he meddles in enough as it is. So I'm not sure why I'd be involved in Britain in any way.
He's not English, he's not British. So why should he have anything to do with this country in as much as have a say in how our politics works? I might not agree with our politics, but I don't think he should be buying into it.
But he seems to like to get involved to some extent, but I don't think he's actually got any real kind of power at all.
Basically, he's Dr. Evil, I think. I think he's trying to take over the world. And he's definitely got eyes on the USA presidential role.
Do you think he could have any political influence in the UK?
Absolutely, yes.
Why?
Because of social media.
Not many were talking about the content when you were talking about, they were talking about Elon Musk there. But Freddie, do you think people are more upset it's because he's a foreigner saying these things, or just that he wields so much power?
I think people are a bit bamboozled by it because he is a kind of one-man media universe in a way that nobody else has ever been before now.
There have been media moguls before.
There have been media moguls before,
and foreign
They didn't behave like this.
But they didn't have an instant voice and control of the platform, which is where the concern comes from. But I think people are just spending a lot of time talking about how they can't let him meddle in British politics, including a lot of British politicians. But by doing that, they are letting him meddle on British politics.
There's an expression that we used to say a lot in meetings when I was a staff writer, which is Twitter isn't real life. And I think we have, I don't work in the newsroom anymore, so I don't know if they're still saying it, but they really should be. Because in the morning when you come in and you say, people are talking about this on Twitter, you're talking about a very small strand of the very right, the very left, and the chronically online.
Those people we've just seen, though, Rebecca,
but those are
were not
normal
left
people.
or right.
I would be very surprised if any of those people are active Twitter users, because most normal, emotionally
But they
healthy
know all
people
about
aren't.
it.
Because,
It's got huge influence.
Because nobody is saying is Twitter real life, and
Because
Freddie is
it's
right.
landed.
They're putting it on the front and the
it's landed on the front page of the
This
newspaper.
is
you
real
can't-
life.
you can't get much
but this is only
more
real
accurate
life.
than that, can
but
you?
this is only real life because somebody in a meeting went, yes, put it on the front page.
Now, I've got,
So it matters.
Yeah, but it's like a badly behaved child. You ignore it. You do not reward it with attention.
There's one thing I'd like to throw into this. They were talking about influence on British politics. He already has had a massive influence on British politics. We know, and about the grooming gang, about the rape gang scandal, we know that the Tories had the J Review and did nothing. There is no
Just
suggestion.
let's give some context to that. You're talking about the Alexis J Review that was commissioned several years ago, and nothing has been implemented by the previous government, the Conservatives. And actually, Alexis J herself, the person who authored this report, has said Elon Musk's intervention has spurred the Labour government into action.
Precisely, because there's no way the Labour government, they've got so much on their own agenda, they were not going to implement that report. And Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary, stood up and said, we're implementing it. That wouldn't have happened without Musk's intervention.
If you actually care about grooming, and that's your actual concern here, and you are a multi-billionaire, there are other things that you could do which would be dramatically more impactful. For instance, a victim fund, more support. But if you actually want people to not be groomed, not you want to be seen to do it, you actually want to stop it.
So we'd be happy for him to fund British clubs, but not to actually
I don't
engage
have
in
any
politics.
issue with philanthropy at all. No.
Okay, we're going to move on, if I may. Freddie, I want to bring it back to the US here. We've had this little row between Elon Musk and Nigel Farage, the leader of Reform, with Elon saying, go Nigel, your time is up. But Nigel's best buddies with President-to-be Donald Trump. Is there going to be a big tension there?
Well, I think people are desperate to sort of cause tensions between Musk and Trump, and there are some tensions, quite interesting ones. I think when it comes to Nigel Farage, Gawain may know better than me, but as far as I understand it, Trump has actually got involved in that and tried to tell Elon Musk to calm down a bit. I think what's interesting is that, we're talking about Musk in exactly the same way, and his Twitter feed in particular, in exactly the same way we talked about Donald Trump in 2016. Of course, Trump is the president and Musk isn't. But that is Musk's role now. He is the Twitter arm of the Trump administration, just as Trump's Twitter account was the Twitter arm of the Trump administration. And I think the two men are working quite closely together on this stuff. And I would point you towards the press conference, extraordinary press conference in Mar-a-Lago, where Trump talks about taking over Greenland, he talks about annexing Canada, he talks about taking back control of the Panama Canal.
Classic Trump statements.
But also talking a lot about NATO and the North Atlantic alliance, the future of the West and so on. These are sort of big ideas that everybody laughs at because it's Trump and it sounds ridiculous. But Musk is doing something similar too there.
But do you
Canada,
think
Britain.
Trump is working that closely with Elon Musk, do you think? Or he's just tolerating
the extent
him?
to which it's joined up is anybody's guess. But there is certainly, I think, in conversations in Mar-a-Lago and elsewhere, there's certainly talk about countering China's threat and the way in which the West can do that.
But let's turn to the central charge that is being made by European politicians, Norway's Prime Minister in particular, and also in Germany there is concern that Elon Musk is interfering in elections. So let me just quote you what the Norwegian Prime Minister Jonas Støre said. He said, "It's worrying that a man with enormous access to social media and large financial resources is so directly involved in the internal affairs of other countries." Let me ask you, Gawain, are there limits to free speech?
Well, no, there are limits, but I would say nobody complained when George Soros was paying £500,000 to anti-Brexit organisation in Britain.
Lots of people complained.
Yes, but the authorities didn't. There was no suggestion. There was no suggestion that he should be stopped. Or it was
There were lots of suggestions that he should be stopped. People
we
were
tried
cross
to complain, and
about
everybody
it.
shut us up. And it didn't make a blind bit of
People were
difference.
very cross about it.
I was, personally.
People aren't so cross when Keir Starmer invites BlackRock, which is it has more power, financial power than Elon Musk.
And
when Elon Musk invites BlackRock into
that Norwegian,
damage.
The Norwegian Prime Minister recently invited Bill Gates and had a big conference about about Bill Gates' influence in a whole series.
Whenever we ask this question of, okay, is this right or is this wrong? People, both sides of me, just go, well, this person did it, this person did it. Okay, everyone's done it. Everyone's done it. Let's put that down. Is it right or is it wrong?
But answer the question, if I may press you. Are there limits to free speech?
Yeah, I mean, it's the old expression that you can't shout fire in a crowded theatre. I don't think that you should go around shouting racial slurs in people's faces.
But how do you regulate that?
And that's a very...
On a global level, I think that's impossible.
I think not trying is terrible, and I think achieving it is very unlikely. I think we have to have a go, but I don't think we're likely to land it.
How would we try and regulate global free speech?
Freddie,
is it at all possible? We should take free speech and the importance of free speech very seriously, but we also shouldn't take free speech that seriously. Because everyone talks about election interference, meddling in politics. It's just people talking. This is what people talked about with Russiagate and Donald Trump in 2016, was this idea that somehow through Facebook, Russia had brainwashed America into electing Donald Trump was nonsense. And what it boils down to is a feeling among the political classes in various countries that people are stupid and they can't think for themselves, and so therefore if they are given messages they will believe them.
What happened in Romania recently?
Very interesting election
where the winning candidates, allegations were of Russian interference through Facebook, through social media, and the elections were annulled. And now they've discovered it wasn't Russia, it was in fact one of the opposition parties.
I do think there is a tendency...
There is a huge danger in pointing fingers at social media and all the rest of it. Freddie's right, it's a conversation.
Isn't the point that actually the world has changed and the social media is here to stay? And that the idea that you can regulate free speech, it's just for the birds, isn't it?
I'm not suggesting that we shut down social media forever to get rid of it, but there is an issue that it is very easy, I've been a journalist, I've done it, to make people really angry and deliberately mislead people. And I don't know what the answer is, but I think to suggest that it's just how it is now is very depressing.
I think there is something in what you say. However, as I go back to what happened in the UK, in a period of a week, we've gone from not implementing the report into these grooming gangs to implementing it. This is a massive win and only happened because of the intervention of Elon Musk. Rude though he was, all the rest of it.
But it's also because
this is
a
a
lot
good
of people,
thing.
It's not just because of Elon Musk, it's because a lot of people online agree with Elon Musk. So he touched on something that triggered a reaction in Britain,
And
because we've had this scandal bubbling away.
Us being outraged.
I'm not sure it's accurate to say that there was no action was being taken as a result of the review.
No, there's been lots
of work was already being done. I think it's been amplified, but that's not to suggest that nobody cared about grooming gangs.
There have been a lot of reviews and a lot of political discussion about this issue and media discussion about grooming gangs, raping gangs for a very long time. But the point is a lot of people feel very angry about it, and that has never really been addressed. And Musk has touched on that.
Has catalysed that.
And isn't that something politicians have to react to, whether it's in elections or just during their time in government, Freddie? Because the reality is social media has changed our landscape hugely. Is it for the politicians to react and change to adapt to it?
Well, I think it has democratised the media to a large extent, and that it's people talking a lot, and we as journalists tend to be pretty pompous and think we're very, very important, and we're not actually important. We're less important now. And that's a significant change, and it has good implications, it has bad implications.
It's democratised it, but it has also completely taken away any regulation. And it used to be that if I wrote something that was abjectly untrue and then published it, which I definitely did in my 20s, and then I would be in trouble, and somebody would call my editor, and I would get called into an office, and I would get shouted at, and there might be a complaint via Ipso, and we might have to pay some money or a fine. And that was how it was better that way. But if somebody like me made a big mistake, something happened. Community noting doesn't have... If I put a tweet out that says, Gawain wears a wig, and then it turns out that it's not true, and then you get a community note, the lie's already out there, everyone's going, isn't that that guy who wears the wig?
Then you have the recourse
I get no penalty for my community
Gawain has the recourse of suing if he is not wearing a wig and he's offended.
And if I'm a billionaire and he's not, and he tries to
So
sue
is
me,
your
how
objection
about
just
it
rich
go?
people doing
Truth matters in
my issue is, I suppose, the complete imbalance of if somebody 1,000,000 times richer than me says something that's not true about me, I can't do anything about it. And that is a very dangerous situation. What can I do?
Great. Let me, if I may, just come back to it from a political party point of view. I'm saying this is the new world we live in, and whilst some people might agree on what the problem is, it doesn't look like it's going to change. As a former communications director for Reform, you had one of the best communicators as your boss, Nigel Farage. Do you embrace what goes on here? And would you, for example, had you been in charge now, have welcomed the tit-tat between Nigel Farage and Elon Musk?
Yes and no. Yes, I think I would. In fact, yes, I certainly would. But we are going to have to deal with this. It does democratise. There are millions more voices than there ever were before. I'm looking at these papers in front of me, and they're regulated. They are regulated.
As they should be.
But they started with the pamphleteering and the inability of politicians to clamp down and shut people up. They can be shut up. The social media can't.
It should
and that's
be.
a very good thing for democracy
if you
and
are
for the ability of freedom.
If you are a social media company, you are a publisher. You should be responsible for what
For
is
other
published
people's
on your
words,
platform.
no, I think that's wrong.
I
completely disagree.
Freddy,
I think you make it's an excellent point there, but I think what's happened is that the trust which these things in front of us had for a long time has gone. Social media has completely opened that up, and there is a lot of rubbish, lies, fake news spreading around, and nobody quite knows how to control it. I think over time, and it will be a painful, long process, organs that you can trust, information sources that you can trust will regain reputations, because over time they will prove that they are trustworthy. And that is how the media business will save itself.
Let me, if I may, just move this on finally, because a huge reality is going to be on us on 20th of January. Almost certainly Elon Musk is going to be a politician. What will that look like?
Well, I think one of the things it will look like is that he has got a huge job to do with this efficiency maven, this czar of efficiency in America. I suspect we will still see memes about space and SpaceX. We will still see some bits and pieces about the rest of the world, but the sheer amount of work he's got to do is going to move off that international space.
I think it's going to be like an episode of Real Housewives of Washington. I think they're all going to be pulling each other's hair and crying, and I'm so excited. JD Vance is going to hate it. He doesn't. I don't think.
You're talking about the vice president.
I get bad vibes between JD Vance and Elon Musk, based entirely on literally nothing other than just vibes, and also having known a lot of bitchy people in my life. So I think there's going to be a lot of fighting, and there's going to be a lot of claws out. And the great thing is, at least it will be like having a front row seat at Tudor Court and seeing who screws who over. So that's fun, at least.
Freddie, you're as clued in on American politics politics as anyone can hope to be. How do you see the landscape with Elon Musk as in the cabinet?
I think this Doge Department of Government Efficiency, which is in itself a joke, a reference to an online meme, a cryptocurrency, I think it will be tasked with removing a lot of government fat, and I think they will have some leeway to do that. And the really interesting area for people that are interested in this sort of thing is Musk's very determined to use AI and tech to cull a lot of government jobs. That's going to be quite a painful process.
Does that sound like if he focuses on the day job, it might actually be very successful?
Well, it could be. I think there's certainly an appetite for it in America, and you saw that with the election. People want Washington to be smaller. They want America to go back to being less federal. I think there is potential for it to be a huge success, but it's also extremely difficult to do. No one has successfully shrunk a Western-style government in our lifetimes. So if they do it, it'll be a hell of an achievement.
And it'll be hilarious because it'll be an immigrant who came in and took away all their jobs.
And the last word there to Rebecca. Thank you very much for joining me here on Westminster Watch. Don't forget to subscribe to the TRT World YouTube channel for more lively debate and conversation. But for now, from me and all the team here, goodbye and thank you for watching.